Hello everyone, this is Valter from Zelcore Flux Dev team and I am pretty excited about today's video guide. What am I going to show you today is how to set up a NVIDIA Jetson Nano development kit as a Flux node on our network. As you know, Flux has become part of NVIDIA Inception program, and we are pretty excited to bring all the NVIDIA hardware kits to our network and bring all the AI capabilities that this device have to our network to be possible to be used by everyone on the community, all the developers, all the companies that want to use these hardware from our network. So let's move on and let's see what is needed and how it's done to put these development kits as a Flux node on our network. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's start it. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What are the minimum requirements for you? What are the things, the tools that you will have to buy to have NVIDIA Jetson Nano development kit on our network as a Flux node? So let's start with the basic. What you will have to buy. In this case, I'm showing you the Jetson Nano development kit. If you are going to buy the Nano version, needs to be development kit because it's the only one that have 4 gigabytes of RAM. There is another version that only have 2 gigabytes of RAM. It will not work as a Flux node, okay? So this is the only device after the node halving that it's happening currently that we allow to be on our network with only 4 gigabytes of RAM. Also, there are other Jetsons available, and you can use this guide to know what do you need and how it's installed. So this is the minimum that you can get from the NVIDIA to become a Flux node operator. But there are other more expensive devices from the NVIDIA that they will also work as Flux nodes. So this is the kit that you can buy from NVIDIA. It comes this way. Inside, I already removed it. You have this magic computer, this ARM board that already have a passive cooler on it. It's pretty impressive. So it have 4 USB 3.0 connections. You have a full HDMI port, DFI connection also, the Ethernet, it's 1 gigabit, I believe. There is also a micro USB port to connect the power supply, but we are not going to use it. We are going to use it to DC power connection. One of the things that I will show you is my development kit. The way it arrived, it would only power up from the micro USB. If I connect the DC power connector, that the power supply that I have bought that is compatible with the Jetson, it wasn't starting. So I had to search a bit online, but I believe there are also inside the kit itself explaining, but I haven't checked. I checked online, and there is a pin on this side that you need to configure. You need to put it on the correct position so the Jetson powers up from the DC connection instead of the micro USB. This is especially important because only with the DC power connection you will get, I would say, enough power to have the device running with all the power, but also because we are going to attach later a USB enclosure with a SSD disk, and I was not sure if the micro USB would get enough power to run it. So one of the things that I'm going to show you after, so this is the Jetson Nano. What else did I have bought for this? Something that I already talked to you about is a DC power supply compatible with the Jetson Nano. I'm not going to show you the brand, doesn't matter. I have searched online and I have bought one. The Jetson Nano doesn't come with any power supply, so you will have to buy one. Also, what else you will need? A micro USB card. As you are going to see, and I am going to put on the video guide, there will be a link for the medium guide. I'm using a SanDisk 64 gigabytes. It's the minimum value of that you can buy to run as a FluxNode. You cannot use 32 gigabytes of micro SD card. Needs to have at least 64 gigabytes of disk space. I suggest you to buy a good micro SD card from a good company, SanDisk, Samsung, something good, because this is going to be power on 24/7. It's going to be used, and you want something that is going to be stable and last long. So buy a good micro SD card. What else are you going to need? So I also have bought a USB card reader, because to format or to install the image from the Jetson on the micro SD card, I need a SD card reader. So I have bought a USB SD card reader. This one reads all types of memory cards. Okay. What else are you going to need? You are going to need a USB enclosure. This one is a 3.1, I believe, enclosure that I have bought. On one of the sides is USB, that it's going to, where we are going to connect to the Jetson. On the other side is USB Type-C. But you can buy a cheaper one. The most important thing is that it needs to be at least a USB 3.0 enclosure, and needs to have UASP support. If it doesn't have, most probably you will not get fast read and write speeds on the SSD disk, despite it's a SSD disk. And this is really important because the FluxNode requirements needs that you have at least a disk write speed of 180 megabytes per second on the benchmarks. So it's really important that you buy USB enclosure with UASP support. Okay. If you can buy one that is already 3.1 USB, even better, because later on, if you want to use it on a computer or any other device, you will get higher speeds that the USB 3.0 connection doesn't get it. Okay, I already have inside the SSD. In this specific case, I am using a Crucial MX500. It's a 1 terabyte disk, but what you will need for the Cumulus node tier is a disk that needs to have at least 240 gigabytes of storage. Okay, this is the minimum. You can buy higher amount of disk, but this is the minimum, or it will not pass the benchmarks. Okay, so I believe on the requirements it's everything. Okay, what else you will also need? You will need a keyboard, a USB keyboard, a USB mouse, a monitor that can work both with DVI or full HDMI. Okay, and from the things that you need to buy, I think I already show everything. So let's move on to the installing startup process. Okay, let's see what do we need to install the Jetson Nano Developer Kit. So I'm going to search Jetson Nano Developer Kit, and I'm going to the NVIDIA link. And there we have the Jetson Nano Developer Kit, and as you can see there is a Get Started that I'm going to press. This is introduction. I'm going to skip to prepare for setup, and I'm going directly to write image to the micro SD card. So you will have to press the Jetson Nano Developer Kit card image. I'm not going to press it because I already have downloaded to my laptop. And the other thing that you will need is, depending on your operating system, you will have to basically I'm using the etcher is the Balena etcher. It's available both for, I believe, also for Mac OS and also for the Linux. I already have downloaded the tool, so I already have downloaded the image. So what you will have to do is basically insert your micro SD card in your USB card reader, and that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, 1 second. Okay, it's installed. Something that you are going to see is that you are going in this specific case, because I already have the image installed on this SD card on Windows. You get lots of these windows that you need to format the disk. Basically, press cancel on all of them. Okay, I'm just closing. It opens a lot of windows. I don't know if on the other operating systems happens the same. Okay, so I already have attached, I'm going to show you, it's in here, attached to my laptop. And now I'm going to open the Balena etcher. Oh, okay, it's still showing the last one. What you will need to do, flash another. So this is what you will see from startup. You need to select Flash from File, and you need to go to your File Explorer and select the image from the Jetson that you have downloaded. Okay. After you select Target, and in this specific case, it's this one, my micro SD card. You select it, and after you press Flash. I'm not going to show it. This part in here, I'm going to skip it because it's already installed. It will take around 30 minutes, more or less. One more time, when it's almost finished, you will again start getting lots of Windows message saying that the disk attached needs to be formatted. You just press cancel, and when it's finished, it's the Balena, it will tell you, the etcher, it will tell you that the install have finished, and the only thing that you need to do is safely unplug the device from your computer. And that's it. That is the part of installation of the micro SD card. So now let's move on to the boot up of the Jetson. Okay, let's prepare it for the first startup. Okay guys, something else that I want to show you is that the box, where it came to Jetson itself, it comes with a place where you can basically put your Jetson Nano while you are using it. It's not the same as buying enclosure for it, that I strongly suggest you to do if you are going to have it running 24/7 at home, so no one goes there and basically does anything wrong on it. Also, something important is that the micro SD card is put on the back of it. It will give a click when it's properly inserted. So as you can see now, it's placed on the box itself where it came, and already have attached the Ethernet cable, keyboard, mouse, DVI, and the only thing missing is the DC power connect that I'm now going to insert, and let's see what will show up on the screen. Okay, it's already showing a green LED on the Jetson. Let's see how much time does it take. And there you go. It's the first boot. It's done. Okay, let's accept the terms and license. In here, I strongly suggest you to select the English language. Why? Because the Flux benchmark works only with dot as decimal separator. So if you choose another language that doesn't use the dot, the Flux bench width will not work. So let's select English language. The keyboard, you can select the country from your keyboard. I'm going to select the Portuguese one, it's the one that I'm using. Where are you? You can select Lisbon, no worries. Lisbon, or the place that it detects where you are. So now it's asking for your name. You can put your name in here. Valter, so it automatically creates the host name, or what will be the name of this device on the network. It can be Valter desktop. In here you can select your username, what username that you want to connect to the device. Okay, so I'm going to put FluxNode, but you can select whatever you are used to use. For example, you can be exactly the same username that you use on your Mac, on your Windows, whatever. Make a username that you don't forget, and the same as the password. Select the password that you are used to use and you don't forget it, because this username and password will be used forever when you need to connect to the Jetson and set up things, check if everything is running properly. Now I am using the monitor, but after this install process, I will use the SSH to connect to the Jetson, and it will not be connected to a monitor anymore. This is also important because it will save some watts, some power usage, that when the Jetson is not connected to any monitor or computer or TV, it will lower a bit the power usage. So I'm going to select my password. Yeah, it can require my password to log in. It's okay. Let's continue. Please enter desired size of F partition in megabytes. Maximum accepted, it's what is already pre-selected. I will use that. So let's continue. In here, you can select what is the power. This Jetson Nano only F2 is this max and the 5 watts. So basically, you can select in here how much performance do you want to use from the Jetson. The 5 watts, that is probably what can be used with the micro USB, would only use 2 cores from the 4 cores available. We want the max, the 4 cores, also because without it, we will not pass the benchmarks, okay? So let's stay with max. Let's continue. It's also really important that you already do this part with the Ethernet cable connected directly to your router, okay? Okay, it's now rebooting after the setup. Okay, it's asking me now to log in. Let's log in, press it, put the password. Okay, and as you can see, the NVIDIA Jetson desktop already boot up. Different from the Raspberry Pi, there is no server version. The only image available is a desktop version. there are some shortcuts and guides in here. I'm going to close it. It's also telling you how does this desktop works. I'm going to close it or pressing next. Set up live patch now. Next. If you want to send information to improve Ubuntu, you can set default yes, or you can press no, don't send system information. Okay, and seems like it have finished. So what are the things that we need to do now? It's already telling there are updates available. Let's install them and wait a bit for it to install them. Okay, it's installing. Okay, it's updated. Now let's open terminal. And in here, what I'm going to type is IP address. Sorry, IP space address. Okay. What is important in here? I want to know what is my local IP on the network from the Jetson, so I can shut down the monitor and SSH to my Jetson. So there are lots of things in here. I'm going to scroll up, and what are we going to look for? The row that starts with ETH0 or 0, because this is the one where is basically your Ethernet cable, and the IP on my local IP address is this one. I'm going to select it. So this is the IP that I will need to use as SSH to connect to my Jetson. So let's move on and continue the install process now using or PuTTY or Mobile Xterm or any other SSH client, okay? Okay, one of the things that I want to show you that now the Jetson is turned on and the only thing remaining connected it's the Ethernet cable and the DC power supply. All the other things were removed. So now let's move on to my laptop and let's SSH to the Jetson and continue the setup. I am using Mobile Xterm. You can use any SSH client, okay? So let's create a connection. And I'm going to use the IP address that I saw that was assigned on from my router to the Raspberry Pi, to the Jetson. And let's connect to it. I'm going to call it Jetson. Okay, and it's connecting. It's already asking me the username. The username I have select FluxNode. I strongly suggest you to use another username. This is just for to show you guys, but I strongly, like I said, to you select a username and password that you are used to use and to know, so that you can easily and don't forget later on if you need to connect to the Jetson what was the username that I have created, because if you don't know the username, you won't be able to do anything with it, okay? So it was FluxNode, username that I have created. It's asking for the password, and it's asking me in mobile Xterm if I want to save the password. Yes, I want to save it. And here I am now connected to the Jetson from SSH client. One of the things that I usually do every time I start up any Ubuntu device for the first time, despite it saying in here there are currently 0 updates that can be applied, I'm still going to check it. Sudo apt get update. It's asking for the sudo password. It's again the same password from your user. And let's see if there are updates available to install. Okay, this is done. Now sudo apt get, and now upgrade epsilon. Okay, and as you can see, there are lots of things that are going to be updated. Remember, this is using micro SD card, so again, the speed, it will depend a little bit on your micro SD card. So I suggest you again to buy a good one from a good company that is well known from SD cards, so you know that you will get good speeds, but also it will last long time without giving you any issues at all, okay? So I'm going to just pause the video for a bit and wait for it to finish, and we'll resume later on. Okay, I'm resuming in here because it appeared a question about Docker. It's pre-selected no. Let's just continue with what we have already in there, okay? No. And the install process, it will continue, and I will resume if anything appears or if it's finished. Okay, it have finished, and what I'm going to do here now is basically reboot the Jetson with sudo reboot. Okay, it closed the connection because it's rebooting. Now let's wait a bit and I will resume in a few seconds. Okay, let's confirm if the Jetson already boot up. So it was FluxNode user that I have created. Okay. And it's still saying there are 3 updates that can be applied. One of the things that I also most of the times execute is after the upgrade is sudo apt auto remove. And my password. Basically, this will remove no longer a package that are no longer needed because they were updated or something. As you can see, it will remove 114 megabytes, and I will say yes, please remove them. If they are not needed anymore, let's remove them. I usually do this before the reboot, but I forgot it, but there is no problem doing it now. Okay, it have finished. Now what I'm going to do is showing, I am basically going now to connect my USB enclosure with SSD to the to the Jetson, to the NVIDIA Jetson. So let's connect it to one of the USB ports. Doesn't matter, all of them have the same speed. It's already blinking some blue light. I don't know if you can see it on the video. And now let's move on again to the SSH client. There will be on the medium guide. I will use exactly the same example that was previously shown on the Raspberry medium guide, because it will work here exactly the same way. So first it tells you to create a media directory. I'm going to copy this line and going back, I'm going to paste it with right click, but I don't want to call it Gordon because it was the guy who made that guide. I'm going to call it FluxNode and in here SSD. Okay, first step is done. Let's continue. So it tells now, let's detect USB flash drive. Let's copy. Right click to paste it. Okay. Okay, and there is a lot of things in here, but the one that we are looking at is the USB that basically it was formatted as X4 partition type and it's not mounted yet. And what we are going to get from here, it's basically what is the UUID. It's the unique ID reference from this disk. Let's copy it, you basically just need to select it. And now I'm going to open Notepad. You can open any editor. I'm going to paste in here. And let's resume what it's asked after. So after it tells me to mount to the device, I'm going to copy again. I'm going to paste in here before on Notepad because I didn't use this Gordon SanDisk. So I have typed FluxNode and it was SSD. So now I'm going to copy from here and I'm going to paste here. Okay, it's already mounted. Let's continue with the guide. We don't want to unmount. Now we want that the USB disk is automatically mount on the Jetson boot up. So what I'm going to do is before executing this sudo nano that will ask to edit the file, I'm already going to copy this line in here below. That is what we are going to need to write on the other file. And after UUID, it's the one that we have copied before. Let's paste it in here. And instead of Gordon, I have called it FluxNode. And not SanDisk, but SSD. So it's already in here. I already know what I will have to put after. So now it's telling me to sudo nano this file. Let's do it. Sudo nano. Looks like nano is not installed, so sudo apt get nano epsilon sudo nano. I will put a pause in here and I will resume when I know why it's failing, so we can continue. Okay, looks like we need to install the Nano. I will add this to the medium guide. Okay, it's already in there. Now let's go back. Sorry. Copy. Okay, and already having here the file. Now I'm pressing the arrows on the keyboard to move down. And in here, what I'm going to do is paste this new line that I have created. So let's go back to the mobile extern, right click to paste it in here. And now to save, I'm going to do Control S. It already say wrote 9 lines, and now Control X to exit. Okay, and now basically we have the USB SSD enclosure mounted, and it will automatically mount when the Jetson reboots. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to configure your router to work with the FluxNode. Before I start with this part, I forgot to mention that the USB enclosure with SSD, before I have connected to the Jetson, I have connected to my laptop and I have formatted. Okay, you need to format it, and on the partition type, you need to choose AXT4. It's a well-known format for partition format type from the Linux. Okay, you need to choose that one. Okay, so let's move on. Configure your router. As you can see, there are several ports and range that needs to be open. You can do this way, or you can also do other way, that is setting DMZ for your Jetson local IP. I'm going to log out in here, so to show you, put in English. This is the local IP from my router. You will have to check what is yours. I'm connecting to interface and everything. It will be different from ESP to another ESP, but not only ESP, but the router itself. There are so many outside. I'm just going to show where it is, the options on my router, but you will have to check on yours where you have those options. In my router, it's on security, on access. I can set up port forwarding. Port forwarding, as you can see, is the first option in here. But instead of using this, I'm going to set up the DMZ. This is on settings. As you can see, there is firewall and DMZ. And what is the DMZ server? In here, you just need to put your Jetson local IP. You save it, and now, like it is on the medium guide, you can confirm that the ports or that the DMZ it's working properly with this website. I'm going just to test one of these ports that is requested in here to open, and let's see if it's open from outside. I'm going to test 80. Sorry, not a good option. Let's select port 22. Okay, it's open. The other ports are not open basically because the FluxNode is not yet installed on the Jetson, and also something important for you that you know is the FluxNode installs a software firewall on Ubuntu it's called UFW, and it's the FluxOS that it will automatically open and close the ports that are needed for the FluxNode to run properly. Okay, so despite in here you can open all this range of ports, until you have the FluxNode installed and running, you might not have the ports showing as open on this website. So for example, after the FluxNode is installed, one of the ports that you can go in here and check just to confirm if everything is properly is one of this range. All of this one needs to be opened for sure. I believe it goes until 7 to 8 in here. I am not sure now. But this one, it will have to be open for sure. If it's not, if this website say it's not open, you have something wrong on your network configuration and something that you will have to dig for yourself. Okay, this is a simple installation medium setup medium guide where I have my Jetson directly connected to my ESP router. There is nothing else between them. Okay, so the configuration of the router is done. I already set up the DMZ. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, the next step itself is installing the FluxNode. I am not going to show in here because we already have an official medium guide and video guides that shows how to install a FluxNode, and it's not different in here. Basically, when you rent a VPS or a server or anything else, you also do everything from SSH, like it's shown on the official medium guides. So the only thing that I'm going to show you is how do you change from your user to the root user that is requested as the first step of the installation process of the FluxNode. You basically type sudo su. It asks me for the password from my user. I will type it. And as you can see, I am already now as root. So I can go to the medium guide. It's in here. I think I have closed it. I'm going to skip all the steps now that show you what you need to do on the Zelcore and everything. But this is the official medium guide. You will for sure need it to understand what do you need on Zelcore part and the other things. But I'm going directly to the first part of installation process. That is basically this one, this first step, the famous Camille FluxNode script. And in the first one is the Docker install. It says before install Docker that I should run these two commands. I'm going to execute them. I'm already going to copy the next one. Okay, it finished. Now this one, and while this one is executing, it's saying to execute this script and select option 1. Okay, it's still installing. Okay, finish. Now run flux install script. Needs to be on the first time you are going to install it. To install the first option, that is the Docker, you need to execute it as a root user or it will not work. Okay, that's why I have show it how do you go to the root user, and it's also on the medium guide. It's explained. Okay, there we have the multi-box tool, and we now just picked option 1, install Docker. And the first thing that it will ask is, what is the username that you want? The username in here, it's not the same as you will see on the official Medium guide or the video that is on the official Medium guide, where it asks you to create a new one. In this part, you don't need that. You just need to type what was the user that you have created on the setup of the NVIDIA Jetson on the first part of the video guide. So I'm going to use exactly the same user. So it will basically use that user to add basically the possibility to run and execute things on the Docker. Okay, so it's the same username that I use to log in, basically. Okay, so it's installing now. It is also installing the UFW firewall, as you can see, as a protection, so you don't need to worry if you set DMZ or if you do the port forwarding, because basically the Flux OS itself, it will only open the ports needed for it to run properly, and you are just basically open the connection from outside to this specific device. So all your local device on the network should not be affected, or you shouldn't need to worry about hackers or anything else, okay? So this takes just a little bit, because remember, this is ARM64 device, and so it takes a little longer compared to a normal computer that is like a Ryzen 7 or one of the new Intel devices. But it takes a bit, but it will install, and this is the only part that I'm going to show you from the install process. So, okay, Docker install, user FluxNode is now a member of Docker, and ask if you want to switch to the user account. Let's switch. And basically we are back to the FluxNode user. And now basically you install again, run again the Camille script and select the option to install the FluxNode. I'm not going to show that part in here because again, there are already video guides and Medium guides showing that. So I'm going to skip it in here, and I'm going to resume it after I have finished, just to show you the output, okay? Okay guys, the installation was complete, and as you can see, the benchmark passed, the status is already Cumulus. We can see what is the ARM board, NVIDIA Jetson, and there you have NVIDIA Jetson Nano that is now passing the benchmarks and available to start the node on the Xeon core, and it will be on our network as a Flux node. As you can see, just to reference, this new attribute in here that tells us what is the ARM board will be used on the Flux OS, so we can create a specific offer for the Jetson Nanos on the Flux OS regarding their AI capabilities. So I hope you have enjoyed this small long video guide, and that is the finish of our NVIDIA Jetson video guide. As you can see, it's working here. We show passing the benchmarks, and I hope this facilitates or make you want to buy this little big machine to have a node running from your home. Something interesting that I want to share with you guys is that these NVIDIA Jetson Nano use like 2 to 3 watts from power So it's a really low power usage that this device have, despite having great capabilities. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I did to share with you guys, and we will probably see you will probably see me again soon on another video. Stay fine, stay tuned on the Flux news, and I hope you are ready for the node halvening. Bye bye from Portugal. Cheers. Thank you very much for your time.